You need to feel motivated? Well, you've come to the right place. Open to anything and attached to nothing. The latest motivational quote from Aaron Rodgers, who broke his offseason silence yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. We had to give it the motivational treatment. We had birds chirping in the studio. It's a philosophy we could all live by, right? As we welcome you into NFL Live on this Friday. Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Jeremy Fowler is here. We are going to begin with more from Aaron Rodgers and his thoughts on his visit to Pittsburgh. I hope the birds keep chirping. We're still waiting to see if he'll be a Steeler.
I've talked to Mike Tomlin. He's more than I even thought from afar, as far as the type of person that he is. I have a lot of respect for what he's accomplished in the league. Arthur Smith, you guys have had Art on the show many times.
Love him.
I mean, talk about a guy that doesn't need to work. Doesn't need to work. But he's a grinder. We've had a friendship for a couple of years now, and I just like what he's all about. I like when he's on your show. And the quarterback coach is actually a guy named Tom Arth. Tom Arth was in the quarterback room with me in 2006 in Green Bay. Personally, I wanted to see what it was like there, see the facility, get to meet Omar in person, see just get a glimpse, a snippet of what life would be like in Pittsburgh.
So again, a glimpse, but no decisions made. Ryan, what was your reaction after hearing those comments from Aaron Rodgers yesterday?
First off, guys, I'd like you to know that I'm not being held hostage.
Yeah,
I'm
are you
actually
okay?
from a gym, right? So I'm safe. I will blink twice if I am under duress.
We're going to save you.
But it also feels like that's the way Aaron Rodgers has the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I mean, at least he didn't talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers the way he talked about Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets. At least he showed some respect for what Coach Tomlin has accomplished. He talked about the coaching staff and Arthur Smith and obviously the quarterback coach as well, and wanting an opportunity to meet Omar Khan, the general manager. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, how long do you wait? If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, how long do you allow Aaron Rodgers' decision-making to hold you back from moving forward? I mean, from an ego standpoint, from an attitude standpoint, energy, from a human standpoint, you want to say, you know what, forget Aaron Rodgers, let's move on. But you put yourself in a position based on business where you've waited for his decision, and so now you have to allow that to play out. But there needs to be a deadline set so you can figure out what you need to do in the draft going forward.
Yeah, the way I see it is Aaron Rodgers isn't a bridge quarterback. He's a bonus for them. They're not shutting the door. It'd be great if he comes and plays for them for $10 million or whatever he wants. But at this point, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to go into this draft and proceed like he's not going to be on the roster. And that should not affect how you approach this draft. Either way, to be honest, they have to make a decision. Do we like Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart enough to potentially trade up for one of them? Do we feel comfortable with them falling to us? Or perhaps would we want to wait till later in the draft and grab a rookie quarterback who's fairly pro-ready, like a Tyler Shuck? That's the decision they have to make right now. You have to take Aaron Rodgers out of the equation altogether. Frankly, it's been that way for weeks. And he still might end up being a Pittsburgh Steeler. That's fantastic, but you cannot bake that expectation into your plans.
Yeah, as always, Mina makes a ton of sense. But, Jeremy, did Rodgers' comments do anything to alter the draft plans for the Steelers next week from what you're hearing?
Not really. When I checked with somebody in Pittsburgh, they said, look, this really doesn't change a whole lot because we've done a ton of work on the quarterbacks this year. And the Steelers went into this offseason knowing they probably have to take a swing either this year or next at the quarterback. So they've looked at everyone from Shedeur Sanders to Jaylen Milro, Will Howard, all of them. So they're prepared, if the value is right, to potentially take one. They feel good about Mason Rudolph as a bridge option. They know that he's not the long-term solution, but for a year, if they had to get by with him, they could. And then there's the back pocket option of a potential Kirk Cousins, right? If you get through the draft and the Falcons still hold him and Rodgers doesn't play for him, they could at least circle back there if they need to.
It's interesting.
The Steelers have always been my favorite Shedeur Sanders destination, and I understand that might sound disappointing to, I don't know, Sanders camp perhaps because of where they're drafting and, thinking of him once thought of as a top 3 pick. But frankly, they shouldn't be disappointed if it works out this way because I think it's the best possible destination for a rookie quarterback right now. And I think it would be an excellent fit for him and for the franchise. The biggest difference I see between him and Jackson Dart is I think Sanders is more pro-ready. Dart, I think, has better tools but is more of a developmental prospect. So for a team like Pittsburgh, who needs a quarterback to play right now, I think he would be a great fit.
No, I agree with you, Mina. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you're picking, or if you can move up a couple of draft spots to get Shedeur Sanders, he's the only quarterback, in my opinion, for them that you should take in the first round. If it's not Shedeur Sanders, I believe that you go with the best player available from a positional standpoint to just make your roster better. And I'm going to say this, and this is not the way the Pittsburgh Steelers live. This is not the way the Rooney family has built this team. But don't reach, and it's okay to suck at the quarterback position if you have to for a year. We're so hell-bent on the Pittsburgh Steelers competing and never having a losing season under Mike Tomlin. But that's also why they've been in quarterback purgatory since Ben Roethlisberger has retired. And so don't reach. Don't just get a guy that's good enough. If you have to be terrible at the position so you can be good at the position another year, why not do that? Do not put yourself in peril again reaching for a quarterback who isn't ready and won't be your franchise guy.
I hear you. I know a few Steelers fans who are actively cringing right now, but either way, the interesting thing too is at 21, you wonder if by that point the Steelers might not even have to trade up to get Shedeur. Maybe he would still be there based on the other teams drafting in between there that may not need him. Now the Giants are a team that's still in the mix, maybe for Shedeur as well. Taking a closer look at a lot of the future quarterbacks this week, they're holding 3 private workouts, which began with Shedeur Sanders. That was yesterday. Jaylen Milro has one scheduled for today. Tyler Shuck will be looked at tomorrow. Here's more from Milroe on the Giants.
With me communicating with them and hearing my thought process and how I view X's and O's and how I comprehend things. It's all about the comprehending of their playbook and understanding, how they apply their philosophies on offense. And with talking to them, I think it's really cool. Especially, Coach Dayball has the experience of being at Alabama, so we have something in common. Coach Shea as well. So, not only are we trying to get to know each other, talk ball, but we also have memories of being at Alabama. So it's a unique relationship. And then, I've enjoyed that with my time frame and going through this period of time.
Yeah, the Tuscaloosa connection, for sure. Jeremy, what can you tell us about how the workout went today with the Giants?
Yeah, so the Giants aren't saying much about these workouts other than they've gone well so far and that they try to put these quarterbacks in adverse situations that you might not see in like the comfort of a pro day. So they try to challenge them a little bit. And my sense is that Jaylen Milro has been ready for that type of challenge over the last few months, working on his ability as a passer in that short to intermediate range, his accuracy, his pocket presence. We know he's got the big-time ability, but he's worked really hard, I'm told, over these last few months leading from the Senior Bowl to now to address that. And so this is a quarterback where early day 2 has a lot of value, and you have all these teams that desperately need a quarterback but could pass on one early. Cleveland, New York. If they wait patiently until day 2, Milroe will be there and will have high value.
You also hear the rumblings that he could sneak into the first round, though, and some of these teams that are thinking, he'll still be there, and then they get left without him. To that point, the Giants do hold that second pick in the second round. RC, you feel like that's a good value for them to draft a quarterback there?
I think that would be a great value, and a great value for a guy like Jaylen Milro. You pick in the second round, and now you can draft on traits. You don't have to draft necessarily thinking that he needs to be the guy day 1. We saw Brian Daboll work with an athletic, physically gifted, inaccurate quarterback at Josh Allen. And no, I'm not one of these people that's saying Jaylen Milro has those level of tools, but he's the guy that has looked like a first rounder, looked like a top 10 pick before, and then when those inconsistencies set in, he looks like a guy that you couldn't even develop into a pro quarterback. Someone who can be in the room with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And then also he has the intangibles with what he can do with his legs that gives you an option to play him a little bit earlier based on a package that works simply around what he's good at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, Jaylen Milro is a lottery ticket, right? He's got the strongest arm of any quarterback in the draft. He's one of the best natural runners I've ever seen at the position. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic, RC. It's not just straight line speed. He has the agility and vision as a runner that I would put up there with your Lamar Jacksons of the world. But the problem is, and Ryan alluded to this, just inconsistency, issues with accuracy, and some decision making, and that's what makes this a lottery ticket, because the belief that you can develop those things requires, well, just that, a lot of belief. But for a team like New York that already has veteran quarterbacks in the building and could be pursuing a high upside option, it does make sense to me, and I think that would be an excellent landing spot for him.
Probably the most polarizing quarterback when I talk to teams around the league. Some have him as high as the second-rated quarterback. Some have him as low as the ninth-rated quarterback. Like, it's all over the map.
Gosh.
But a lot of scouts I talk to agree. If you just give him like 2 years behind the scenes, behind a veteran, and then you tailor your offense around him when he does play, you could have massive success based on the upside and based on his demeanor as well. He's a fabulous kid from all that I've heard. And so he's in a good place right now where I was told teams like the Raiders, teams like the Steelers are on his radar going into Thursday night. So those are places that he'd either like to be or thinks have done enough homework on him to be a potential option.
A couple interesting things. As of right now, he accepted the invitation extended by the NFL to go to the draft. So he's going to be in the green room that we expect him to be there. We'll see if he does end up showing up. So that's interesting. I mean, you don't want to read too much into that, but it makes you think like, okay, maybe we're talking slipping into that day one territory. The other thing I would point out is I was on the sideline for that Alabama-Georgia game when he just went off in the first